Welcome to Enlightened, the enlightened journey of life. I am your host, Jen Hamilton, and it is an honor to have you here. I am a conscious life coach and women's empowerment mentor, and I activate a potent level of self and soul inquiry with my clients, which initiates deep and lasting transformation in all areas of their lives. I am here for the full human experience, authentically and audaciously sharing my magic with the world. On this podcast, we're all about mastering life on the way to enlightenment. And as we are here having a human experience, we might as well embrace it all. We play in the space of what is real and tangible, just as much as we play in the space of esoteric and metaphysical. You'll be ignited by deep conversation, whether through my own personal musings, interviews with incredible thought leaders around the world, and everyday divine humans sharing their soulful stories. Thank you for being on this journey. Let's dive in. Hello, beautiful soul. Just to let you know that listener discretion is advised for this episode and to be mindful if there are kids around as it contains adult themes. Welcome everybody to another episode of the Enlightened podcast, and I am joined by Michelle Burke today. Michelle is a hot mess alchemist. Michelle, what is a hot mess alchemist? Tell us all about that.
Hi, Jen. First off, thank you for having me. Hot Mess Alchemist. I live by this mantra of discovering the magic in your mess. And I live by, the fact that each and every one of us on this planet is a hot mess, whether we want to admit it or not. So as that hot mess alchemist, I guide you through your journeys. Through those low points within your life, through your struggles, through trying to get you from point A to point B. I'm the one who helps you through it because I see the beauty in the broken, the magic in the mess, and the clarity in the chaos. I see what you can't see.
I love that so much. And I love the alliteration of all of those things too. That's something that speaks to my soul. So tell us about the journey that you take people on. Like, what do generally people come to see you presenting with? How do you alchemize that? And then what do they leave with?
I have people that come to me for all sorts of different things, whether it be within their business, whether it be within their life. Recently, I guided a client through her divorce.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, where she, from day one of separation to where she is now, dating someone new, all within a little over a year.
That's incredible. I've also supported women in exit strategies, very sort of similar, when they're realizing that the relationship or the marriage that they're currently in is not serving them and they feel stuck. They end up turning into this hot mess because, perhaps they've done some growth work within themselves. Perhaps they've had an experience that shifted. Perhaps they've just realized, hang on, this is not the person that I want to be with anymore. And then all of the conditioning and all of the belief that we have to stay in marriages and that it has to be a certain way and we have to stick around for all of the reasons. And so, I think we're really seeing a rise in separation and in divorce because people are, standing on their feet saying, I want something different from life. And at the end of the day, that's okay.
It's totally okay. And that's one of the things that we do. We look at what those limiting beliefs are that are coming up. We look at where that programming and that conditioning is and, start to deconstruct it to then recreate those new patterns and that new programming.
Yes, absolutely. And so what's your life story? How did you come to be a hot mess alchemist? What was the journey that you've been on?
So the past few years have been a complete hot fucking mess um, for me. But what's ironic is it was September of 2018. I was at a conference and I was sitting there having dinner with a Facebook friend, first time meeting in person, at the conference. And she's talking, and all of a sudden I stopped her mid sentence. And it was like, I'm listening. I just have to write this down because it had three words that came to me that made no sense together, but I knew what those three words meant something. I knew they meant something. I had no clue what they were, but I knew they meant something. And when those three words were hot mess magic. And it was the next day that we were sitting there at the conference, and the last presenter was a book publisher. And as I'm sitting there writing, like as she's talking, and then Discover the Magic in Your Mess came to me, and it was like, oh, wait, this is my book. And I pitched her right then and there. And she looked at me and she's like, most people don't hit a home run with their title on the first try. You just hit a home run.
Wow.
And yeah, and it was right after that was September of 2018. Starting in December of 2018, my whole life became a hot mess. I had my car repossessed 3 days before Christmas, full of Christmas presents. I had bank accounts frozen. My landlord asked me to move out for his daughter to move in. I lost everything.
Wow, what an experience.
Yeah. So it's like, I know what it's like to lose everything, to go wake up in the morning, look out the window, and not have your car be there. To go to pay for something and have your card be declined, but you know there's money in the bank account. It's like, huh? It's like, oh, wait, why is all there these checks that are depositing and all these payments that are deposited, but they're not hitting my account? Like, what's going on?
Wow, that's incredible. And so what was what was the catalyst for you to completely turn your life around?
It was, I had to go through that dark night of the soul. Like, I had to really get honest and truthful with myself as to, like, you're the one who got yourself in this mess. And that's one of the things that we don't want to look at. It's like, we're the creator of our lives, but we like to think that we're the creators of the good stuff, not the bad stuff. And it's like, yeah, we also have to remember that it's our programming, it's our conditioning, it's our beliefs, it's our upbringing, it's our energy that also leads us into these messes as well.
It's so true, isn't it? And it's an invitation for radical self-responsibility.
Yes.
You know, when things aren't going our way or things completely fall apart, we turn into this hot mess. Sometimes, situations happen that are out of our control and things do happen to us, but it's what we do with them that is our responsibility ultimately.
Yeah, and I like to look at it, and this is one of the things that it taught me, was to look at these hot mess moments as a timeout. Like, timeout, step back, reflect. Don't go inward, go upward. And what I mean by that is look at it from the bird's eye perspective. Because when we go inward, we start getting some of that guilt and that shame and that anxiety and the depression, and the self-judgment. But when we look at it from that bird's eye perspective, we can kind of start to connect the dots and put the pieces into the puzzle and be like, oh, okay, I can see how I got there. Okay, yes, I can see how that happened. I can see, all right, I can see now the different pieces. And that's when you can then honestly express the gratitude for it.
Such a big part of it, isn't it?
Yeah, we think of expressing gratitude just for the good stuff in our lives. we
Mm.
also have to express that gratitude for, the shit as well.
100% massively, isn't it? And I was having this conversation with someone only yesterday about, having the gratitude for the anger, the sadness, the darkness essentially that we experience, because without those things, we aren't the fullest expression of our human selves.
Yeah, and it's in those low moments in our lives that we grow, we expand, we
Mm.
embody more of our soul and who we truly are.
Mm.
So it's like sure, when my car got repossessed, was I did I go into depression and did I have all this self-judgment and guilt? Of course I did. Did my family help the matter? No, not at all. Um, oh, but now I can sit here years later and, express the gratitude for what happened,
It's so powerful, isn't it?
and express the gratitude for the people who truly were there for me as I was going through this. And then
Mm.
talking to other friends and having them say to me, "Oh, yeah, I've had a car repossessed. Oh, yeah, I've had a car repossessed." And it's like hearing other people say it, like close friends of mine, it made me feel better.
Mm.
It's like when we're going through these low points, we think we're the only one on the planet who's going through this. And this is where I truly believe, and it's part of my mission, is that we need to drop the facade that we all have our shit together, that our life is perfect and we live this glamorous, Instagram lifestyle, when in reality, we don't.
I'm super curious, what's some of your current shit that you're working through at the moment?
Some of the current stuff that I am working through is on the, still, financial aspect, making, and making that shift within my own business into, taking myself to that next level and being more visible and holding myself, more accountable. So like there's that fear and that self judgment that's like creeping in. Um, my living situation right now isn't ideal. Oh, yes, I love where I live, but it is a temporary living situation. Come, April, I have to find, a new place to live.
Mm. I appreciate your vulnerability, and through the space of vulnerability, I'm sort of very similar in the way. Sort of, we've got to move house in the new year, and I'm very much in resistance to packing and
Mm-hmm.
moving house, because as much as I'm excited to move house, and not that we've, found a place to go, our place isn't even on the market yet. However, I have so much resistance because I've just moved so many times in the last few years,
Yep.
and I'm just fighting it. And it's so funny because a few times when I've read my tarot cards for myself, I've had the Tower card reversed, and generally that's that speaks into your stable,
Mm-hmm.
your stable foundations. And when the cards reverse, it's really trying to get your attention about something, and it's like it feels like my foundation is crumble if I don't know that we've got the perfect house lined up. And also going through a bit of a rebranding as well at the moment. It's like, I know who I am, and I ultimately know what my messaging is in my head and in my experience, but how do I convey that
Yes.
to other people?
Yeah.
How do I
Yes.
put that in a box that says, oh, this is good for SEO, or this is the messaging that people
Mm-hmm.
will understand on Instagram? And, if I'm running ads or anything, like, how will people understand what I do? And it's kind of packaging all that together. So, I think, I think it's so important to speak into our personal experience of hot mess, because there are times, where I'll say to my partner, I'm like, pass me a towel, I'm going to throw it in. I'm done. I'm done with all of
Yeah.
this. I just
Yeah.
want to run away to the woods and paint,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I think it's so important to step into that vulnerability, step into that openness and say, hey, look, my life isn't completely together. There are days when I feel like absolute shit, and that's okay. And as much
Yeah.
as the Instagram portrayal, as much as I try and give, a lot of realness as well, we also get to decide what people see of our
Mm-hmm.
lives. And behind closed doors, sometimes it's a very, very different experience. There's things I was actually experiencing very, very deep levels of anxiety last week. And, I've done a lot of work around anxiety. I had really bad postnatal anxiety after my first daughter was born. And I understand how we're wired and how we experience anxiety, and I understand how to move through it. But when I was in the thick of it, it's like nothing wanted to shift it,
Mm-hmm.
nothing, I couldn't see past it. And I wouldn't say it was crippling, but it was very much taking up a lot of energy at the
Yeah.
time. And, I'm very lucky that I have a lot of support around me. And I actually just reached out to a girlfriend. I said, this is what I'm experiencing. And she's held space for me to talk about it. She wasn't saying, any part of it was wrong or that I should try and think of something else instead, or, it was just, how to be with it. And, even as someone who supports people through anxiety and has a very good understanding of what that is, I still experience it. I'm still
Mm-hmm.
human at the end of the day. I still
Exactly.
get to be a hot mess.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that I think the shift that we're seeing within the coaching self-help industry is we're starting to see people be more vulnerable. We're starting to see that less polished image and see more of the realness of someone, which is so, so important. We relate better to that. We relate to the anxiety, to the stress, to the depression, to the anger. We all don't relate to, having a, $100,000 month, but we can all relate to losing a loved one.
Yeah, that's so true. What are you seeing? Are there any particular patterns that you're noticing in your line of work with the clients coming to you? Are you seeing any patterns that people are experiencing more of now than perhaps we've ever seen before?
More anxiety,
Mm.
more anxiety, more stress, and people not realizing that the past 3 years, we've all been living through a trauma.
Massively, yes.
Like, we've all been going through this global trauma. So when you're sitting there saying, like, yeah, I don't understand why I'm so anxious. Well, because the whole world has done, a complete shift, and it's not done shifting, in the past 3 years. And
Yeah.
wanting to transition out of your 9 to 5 and into something else, and people realizing like that there's more to life than just, going to work every day.
100%. And so when you take people on a journey
Mm-hmm.
through, this alchemizing their hot mess, can you speak into some of the perhaps the techniques that you use? Do you use any, like, is there any neuro-linguistic programming, NLP? Is it talk therapy? Tell us what the the depths of what it is that you do.
So it's kind of a mix of a whole bunch of different things. Yeah, there's some talk therapy in there. There's some meditation, light language, energy work. There's some traditional Chinese medicine in there, looking at the meridians, and like the emotion that you're really feeling. I can tell you where it resides in the body, and then what those ailments are that organ or that element, they're called elements in Chinese medicine, like what that element, like what the ailments are, and the signs that that one is out of balance. It's like, oh yeah, I've got all those. Well, no kidding, you've got all of those because you're feeling anger, and anger is stored in the liver. So yeah, it's no wonder you're feeling sluggish and tired and everything.
Our bodies are so powerful, aren't they? They're so
Yeah.
intuitive. And I've got a textbook, Metaphysical Anatomy, which is absolutely mind blowing. And it speaks into, very similar. It's like, what are the things that our body is holding on to? And, whether we have an injury or an ailment, our body is calling us to look at a certain part of ourselves. And
Yes.
then, it's an invitation for healing, essentially, isn't it?
Yes. And I also get people to really connect with themselves. So you come to me and you ask me a question, I'm going to answer it with a question. And we'll go through it and, oh, I don't know what's going on. Like I feel off today. Okay. Drop in. Let's drop in. Let's connect. Get silent for a minute. What's your body telling you? Oh, I'm dehydrated. Okay. Well, when was the last time you drank like water? Oh yeah, I really haven't been drinking enough water recently. All right, well, there you go. We can't detox, we can't move things through our bodies if we're not properly hydrated.
It's so true, isn't it? I love what you were saying earlier about, sort of coming up and out of the situation and looking at from that higher perspective. I call it a meta position. And, the first step to growth is awareness, and so when we have awareness, when we can remove ourselves from a situation and look at it very objectively, we can start to see things from a completely different perspective. And so it's like that coming out of the situation and then looking down over things and being able to put the pieces of the puzzle together. If there's someone listening at the moment who they're just like nodding their head, they're like, oh my God, yes, I feel like a hot mess. Things are really stressful. I'm moving through a lot of anxiety. I'm going through a breakup. I've lost my job, or my business is not doing as well as I'd hoped it would, or whatever it is that they're experiencing. If they were to come up and out and look down over their life and over their situation at the moment, what is it they're looking for, and how is it that they can help themselves to move through the situation?
So, what I like to say to people when they're looking at that is acknowledge what you're not acknowledging.
Mm.
And they're like, huh? But I'm not acknowledging it. So, how do I know what I need to acknowledge? Like, exactly. Acknowledge what you're not acknowledging. It will hit you right in the face the second you start looking at it above. Like that giant elephant in the room is just gonna get bigger and bigger and turn pink with purple polka dots, and you're not gonna be able to miss it.
And then what do they do with, like, once they've recognized the elephant in the room, once they've, acknowledged what they're not acknowledging, what do they do with it then?
You know, journal on it.
Mm.
Like, why aren't I acknowledging this? Why have I been resisting this? Because 9 times out of 10, when we're resisting something, it's because we're afraid of the change that's about to happen.
So true.
Because we know that that change is going to take us to the next level. And it's
Mm.
like we're like when we let that fear get in the back of our head, and it's like, okay, like you can have that fear, but flow with it, flow with the fear. Don't let it stop you. Acknowledge it. Acknowledge the fear. Like, hey, fear, I see you. Like, I see you over there. Thanks for showing up. Like, you're doing your job. You're trying to keep me safe. Like, acknowledge it. Like, make
Mm.
friends with it. I'm like, you know what, fear? I understand that you're trying to do your job. You're trying to keep me safe, but I'm gonna do this anyway. Like, I'm gonna do it. If I fail, okay. But I'm not going to know if I fail unless I do it. I'm not going to know if all those things that you're telling me are really true unless I actually go and try it.
That's 100% true, isn't it? Because we're so conditioned, like our relationship with fear, it's a little bit warped. It's almost like it might be an uncomfortable feeling that we experience when we're going through fear. And if we aren't comfortable with certain feelings, or the uncomfortable feelings that we have, fear being one of them, then we have this relationship where we just want to get away from it. We've been conditioned to make it wrong. And therefore, when we do our healing journey, when we do any, personal development, spiritual development, whatever you want to call it, we learn to walk alongside it. I love
Yeah.
what you were saying, like invite it in, make it a cup of tea, offer it a comfy chair.
Yeah, like
you know?
become friends with it
Yeah, yeah,
because
because
it's
it's there to
not
show you
going
so much.
anywhere.
Exactly, exactly. It's there to show you so much and to teach you everything. And there's two different types of fears. I always say fear is just confused excitement. Like there is genuine fear. Do you know what I mean? If your life is in
Hmm.
danger, if your
Yes.
survival is compromised at any time, there's a genuine fear. But the fear that we have in our day to day is generally, confused excitement. We have the
Hmm.
same physiological
Yes.
response in our body. We get the blood rushing to our extremities. We get the butterflies. We get, the heart racing, the shorter breath. As if we're about to, fight or flight. And so when we understand the response that our body is having, that it's a very, very normal thing,
Hmm.
we can go, hang on a second, this is what my body is naturally trying to do. It's trying to keep me safe. It's okay to experience the fear. In fact, I welcome it right in because it's here to show me something. But what is it that I'm choosing beyond this fear? How can I step outside of my comfort zone to, feel the fear and do it anyway, which was a book,
Hmm.
from many, many years ago.
Yeah, and just embrace it. Like I like to look at fear, and this was an acronym that came to me, years ago, in regards to fear, was fuck everything and rise.
I love it. I love it.
It's like, okay, I see you, fear, but I'm gonna give you the giant middle finger, and I'm gonna go rise. I'm gonna go do it anyway.
I love that so much. Can we use that? Is that yours?
Yeah,
We'll trademark it. Like,
yeah, like fuck everything and rise. Like I'm gonna do this anyway.
I love that so much. It's so important to have these little reminders, isn't it? Because like fear as well as, anxiety, it can be really debilitating for some
Yes.
people if we don't have a healthy relationship with it. And, for me, it's about facing off, every day, every week, every month, every year with new levels of fear, which ultimately is new levels of excitement. Because if I'm creating change in my life, it's going to require a new version of me every time.
Yes.
It's going to require me to step outside of my comfort zone if I want to have a completely different experience to what I'm having in the current moment. And it's so important.
Yes, it is. Like I tell people all the time, feel the feeling. Don't become the emotion. You can be
So
afraid. Like you can feel fear. Just don't become so afraid that you become paralyzed and you don't take action and you let that fear embody you. One of the things that I have worked really hard with this year is honoring what I'm feeling. I lost my dad the beginning of the year, and it became, you know, my mantra for the year, where when people asked me how I was doing, instead of sitting there saying that, I was a hot mess or I was awful or etc. or, whatnot, I would say I'm honoring what I'm feeling. I'm riding the wave and honoring what I'm feeling.
Did you find that that's what gave you a sense of peace and comfort then, being able to just flow in what was real at the time?
Yeah, where a perfect example of truly honoring what I was feeling. It was Saturday. I went to a wedding, and first wedding that I've gone to, since my dad passed away, and I'm not married. So seeing the bride walk down the aisle with her dad, like it kind of got me, but it didn't, I didn't cry or anything. It was like, all right. And then the DJ announced the father daughter dance, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I literally ran out of the room because I could feel the ugly cry coming on. And I made it into the bathroom and I let the ugly cry happen. I was holding tissues underneath my eyes to prevent my makeup from becoming a complete mess. And I just sat there and I just honored what I was feeling. I let myself feel the jealousy and the envy that I was feeling for the pride that she gets to have this moment with her dad.
Mm.
Remembering, the last time I danced with my dad, being then grateful that I have these memories of dancing with my dad, because there are so many little girls who, have never danced with their dads or never will dance with their dads. And just allowing myself to truly just be present with what I was feeling. And then, regained myself, had my moments, you know, looked in the mirror and, tried to depuff my eyes as best as I could and, made my way back in.
Wow, that's really, really beautiful. Yeah. And it's interesting, isn't it? Like when we allow those feelings to just be there, to allow the ugly cry to be there.
Mm-hmm.
It's perfect to step away from the room if you need to have the loud ugly cry moment. And it's that allowing of the emotions to move through us that is so
Yes.
healing. The more we bottle them up, the more they present in our body as dis-ease in some
Mm-hmm.
way or discomfort.
Yes.
Mm.
And, I was feeling so much in February, so much rage and so much anger that, I signed up for kickboxing in March and it became my therapy. It was like, I get to get all this anger that I am feeling inside of me that my dad is gone, like out of me. I get to beat something up
Yeah, shift that energy completely.
completely, so we need to do the healthy things. We need to release these emotions in a healthy manner. Because, yeah, like you said, they become disease, they become stagnant in our bodies.
Mm. I'm really curious, Michelle, were you taught as a child growing up that it was safe to feel your feelings and how to move these through? Or is this something that you've learned, later on in life?
It's something that I've learned later on in life. My parents got divorced when I was around 10. And at that young age, I learned how to internalize, which I think a lot of us learn as kids, especially those of us, who are empathic or have, open solar plexus, in human design. Um, like myself, like we feel. So we could be crying for no apparent reason, and as a kid, not understanding why we're crying. And hearing from your parent, oh, what are you crying about now? Like, I
Yeah,
don't
well, I'll give you
know.
something to cry about. Yeah.
Exactly. I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm crying. I'm just crying. Well, stop. Like, stop crying. Or, oh no, here she goes again. It's like, all right. So I learned how to cry on the inside, which isn't healthy by any means. So yeah,
Well,
it's taken me, years to get to this point where, like, okay, I'm just gonna cry, and I don't care. I don't care where. I cried in the dollar store today buying Christmas cards.
what were some of the things that you learned now in your adult life? Like obviously, kickboxing to shift the anger. I mean, that's incredible. Taking yourself out of the room at the wedding to have an ugly cry. Are there any other things that you can say to people that might be listening that have had the experience? I certainly did as a child where I wasn't taught how to shift feelings. They were made wrong. The crying was made wrong. It was, I'll give you something to cry about, or, go and fight it out with my brother or my sister was kind of
Yeah.
like the default setting. What is it? Is there anything that you can speak into and share in ways in which people can say, I've got this feeling, but I don't know what to do with it other than internalize it?
Move your body. Like, whether that's going for a walk, going for a run, doing yoga, lifting weights, dancing in the kitchen. Just move your body and let it move through you. And if you need to scream, scream.
Mm.
And if you're in that location where you can't scream, yawn. Yawn is a silent scream.
Oh, I love that. Mm.
Just let it, let it out.
I might have to use that later when I have to go Christmas shopping at the big department store. If you see me walking around Westfield and I'm yawning, it's because I'm actually internally screaming.
Exactly. Like we get in these situations where like we can't scream. Gently pull on your hair. Like stick your fingers in your head and just pull on your hair. One, it's good for your scalp and good for your hair. It stimulates the blood flow to your scalp. But two, you've got a main meridian point that's right here.
You're pointing to the crown for those just listening. Yeah.
Yep. Right at your crown. Like right at your crown, right at the top of your head.
Yeah.
So it's connecting. It's connecting with your body.
It's so true, isn't it?
When we're feeling these things, we all want to escape our bodies. That's why, we turn to, we have that crappy day and we go home and we pour ourselves that glass of wine because we just want to numb ourselves. We want to forget everything that we're feeling and we just want to decompress. Go for a walk instead.
So many ways in which we numb ourselves, which is disconnecting us even further, isn't it? It's we're perpetuating that cycle of making those feelings wrong.
Yeah, go for a walk, do some yoga, go meditate. Do absolutely nothing for 20 minutes. Like no phone, no meditation, like just absolutely nothing. Stare at the ceiling.
I really love to circle back to a little bit about your book, Hot Mess Magic.
Sure.
Yeah. So tell us how can we get our hands on a copy of this book? So is it available? Is it online? Can we get a hard copy? Can we get it around the world? Tell us all about that.
Yeah, you can get it around the world. It's actually a bestseller in Australia. So Amazon, Lulu, Barnes and Nobles, there are plenty other independent bookstores that I can't remember off the top of my head right now that it's in, but those are the top, three big players, Lulu, Barnes and Nobles, Amazon.
Amazing. And if someone's listening to this and they're like, oh my gosh, yes, I need a hot mess alchemist in my life. How do people, obviously I'll link in the show notes to your website, but how is it that people work with you?
You can send me an email, Michelle at michelleaburke.com, Michelle with 2 L's. And just in the subject heading, something fun, I'm a hot mess. Help me clean up my mess, and just explain what it is that you're looking for, and we can schedule some virtual drinks, go from there. And your drink can be a cup of tea, it could be water, it could be a glass of wine if you want, and we'll sit there and we'll chat and we'll see if we're a good fit for each other.
Beautiful. And I'm really curious, Michelle, what is it that inspires you to get up every day?
What inspires me to get up every day is knowing that every day, no matter what it is that I do, I'm helping someone. I'm making a difference in someone else's life. Whether it's something as simple as opening a door for someone. Like I just helped that person. I opened and I held the door at Target. Like we don't think of those things as helping someone. It's like you're helping them. Like help one person every day. Those selfless acts. Not expecting anything in return.
I'm also curious, Michelle, to you, what is the meaning of life?
The meaning of life to me is love. It's love in that aspect of not only loving others but loving yourself. And it's it's love. It's accepting yourself. You're going on this journey to learn and embody more of yourself, to fall in love with yourself. Because if you don't love yourself, how can you expect someone else to?
It's so true, isn't it? That has been absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom and all of your magic. And as I mentioned, I will link in the show notes to how people can get their hands on your book, Hot Mess Magic. Thank you so much, Michelle, the Hot Mess Alchemist, for joining us on the Enlightened podcast.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. I hope you love the Enlightened podcast, and the biggest compliment you can give me is subscribing to this podcast, sharing it, and leaving a rating and review. Feel free to follow me on Instagram. My handle is @JenHamiltonOfficial, and the podcast handle is Enlightened_podcast. You can also find the video version on YouTube on my channel. Just search Enlightened and don't forget to hit subscribe. Have a beautiful day and enjoy living the enlightened journey of life.